everyone. So, welcome to Tuesdays, your next page turner show with me. I'm Jasbina, your host, and today we have two guests on our show, Irene Helenowski and also Robert Starnes. Hello, Irene. Hello, Robert.
Hello.
Hello. So, today's topic is about weaving a realistic and also relatable story. So, we're focusing on fiction books over here, and the two of you are fiction authors, and we're having you today to explain to us or probably talk to us about the interesting characters in your book and how you choose to write your book, the plots in your book, and things like that. So, most importantly, to explain to audience out there about what's so interesting about your book, right? What is intriguing about your book, and so before that, we would like to have the two of you introduce yourself. So we will start with Irene. Probably, Irene, can you explain to us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, my name is Irene Helenowski, and I write, but I am also a biostatistician at Northwestern University, so I do statistical analysis for the researchers there, but writing and escaping into other worlds has for quite some time fascinated me. That's why I wrote my trilogy, Order of the Dimensions, and you did my wonderful book cover.
Yes.
So that trilogy is based on the multiverse and the possibility of characters living different lives in different dimensions.
Uh-huh. Right. Right. So, Robert, could you briefly tell us about yourself and your probably your series, the books that you have?
Yeah, yeah. My name is Robert Starnes. I was diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder in June of 2017, and that's when I actually started writing. But I also work in property management. I work for one of the largest in the nation, and I've been with them for going on 14 years. So that's what I do in the daytime. And so I ended up with agoraphobia when I lived in Houston, and part of my therapy was to write. So I wrote a short story that I sent to a friend of mine who said that they wanted more, and that short story turned into what's going on now. My fifth book now of this series, and it's something similar to what Irene's got going. With mine has a little bit of a time travel to saving history is the series because of the facts of someone coming from the future to try to change the future that's going to happen past his future or past his presence. So by him going to the past, it's present day for us. And there's 6 historical facts in every single book. And they're not all old facts. There's some new facts too. And then also I wrote them in a way for dyslexic people or anyone with the reading disabilities to make it easier for them to read, because I'm also dyslexic as well. So they're easy reads for most people. They're easy reads, but for people that have difficulties reading, they're actually would be considered a normal read. And so, but there's a lot of characters going on, and I'm always adding another character here and there. And I write chapter by chapter. I have no storyboard or anything. So I just, whatever comes to my mind, that's what I write that day.
Right. So what's interesting about writing is that to an extent, I think our personal experiences would affect the kind of things that we write, and also would also affect the characters. So, Irene, probably would you like tell us about how you choose to develop your characters, and or what are the aspects that you have in mind when you actually develop your characters?
Well, basically, when I come up with a character, I see how he or she can add to the plot, and I go from there. And then also, I base them on life experiences, maybe include characteristics from people I know. And then another important factor is after I develop the person, if I read a new situation based on what I've already written about them, how would they react to the situation, so that they can have a continuous their character is basically continuous throughout the story. So
Right,
yeah.
right. So, um, speaking about your experience, right? So, anything that's particular that you have incorporated into your book, or probably when you speak about a multiverse dimensions, right? So,
Right.
how did you get that idea? Like,
Um basically I like watching the Science Channel specials, and then with Brian Greene and all these different physicists, and this intrigued me that there could possibly be another world where we could be doing something totally different.
uh-huh, uh-huh,
So yeah, so in my book, my main character, Jane Kremovsky, sometimes she's married to the hero, and in other words, she's married to the villain, and basically it shows the consequences or outcomes of
uh-huh,
each of her reactions.
uh-huh. Right. Yes. Actually, I have Irene's all three books. Thank you, Irene, because sending it over to me all the way from the States, and I have read your books, and I know it actually transports you to a whole different world, and the
Right.
kind of characters, and it kind of like jumps from one situation to another
Yeah.
situation abruptly. So I definitely can relate to what Irene is talking about. So Robert, coming to you, right? So have you incorporated any personal experiences, or maybe um, of your the discovery of your autism recently, right? So have these experiences affected the way that you write book, or probably your stories in any way?
Actually, they have. It like pretty much almost all the characters are actually
Uh-huh.
based off of, and they're all named after my cousins, my nieces and nephews, my
Oh,
cousins'
okay.
kids and nieces and nephews,
Uh-huh.
and they all have a little bit of them in the character per se. They might not be the same age or anything like that, but one of my main characters, Jax, is based off my nephew Jackson, who is actually he's a low verbal autistic,
Mm-hmm.
and he'll be 8 in February 29th. And so he's actually a school teacher and does a lot of the teaching, and throughout the whole thing. And so his sister's in the book too. So I read a little part about that. When she heard that he was speaking in it, she was like, he speaks, So it's like she was so excited that Jackson had a speaking part in the book that she didn't really care too much that she was in the book. It was just about because he speaks in the book. And so I use is to get messages across is also to bring awareness to bullying, teen bullying at school, and teen suicide, because it's on a rise. I actually have one character that is comes out later in the book, but that particular character is actually a teen suicide. I met his mother, and after we talked and spoke, I asked her if I could make him instead of I wanted to make him a life character. Instead of a victim, because victim was just horrible. And so she told me all about him. And so that's how I made him in the book. I made him how he was to her. And so now he's a forever character in my book. And then there's another suicide victim in my book. He's an adult though, for depression. And nobody knew it. And so I got permission from his family to do the same thing. So now he's a forever character. And so I just having the word victim just kind of got to me, because when I was younger, I didn't know what I was going through with my own disabilities. And now I just look at them as abilities, because they're not disabilities to me. They're abilities, because it's the ability to write and create the worlds that I'm making, and making the families happy, and helping people, helping 9-year-olds, read and get out of dyslexia class or dyslexic classes, because they're reading at a 6th grade level now, and from the 3rd grade. So, but yeah, I use a lot of my torments. I grew up in Northeast Texas, so yeah, I have a lot of torments and PTSD and everything else. So it's all in there. So, and it's to teach, but with the bullying part, they all have their little episodes in there, but it gives ways of how they deal with it a little bit different, and how they take care of it. But all my dedications are dedicated to, either teens or bullies or battered wives or any of those. Just let them know that there's always something. There's always an answer. Reach out to somebody. And so, but that's part of my characters too.
Awesome. Right. So, I was just wondering, since you have specifically dedicated your books to send across messages to people out there to not bully, or probably to raise awareness about autism, right? So, how has the feedback from readers has been so far? So, could you tell us a little bit about your the feedback that you have gotten from your readers?
Yeah, I've actually gotten great feedback from a lot of them, and like I said, that's how I found out about the 9-year-old. It was actually my cousin's son, Travis. He's in the 3rd grade, and he was in a 504 dyslexia class, and so he ended up reading book 1. And when he read book 1, when he went back to school, they took him out of the 504 dyslexia class because he was reading at a 6th grade level. Because, like I said, I wrote the book for people. I figured the only people that could write books for people with dyslexia are the ones that have dyslexia. So we're the only ones that can really teach ourselves and teach others how to deal with them. And it's just basically just simply putting simple words in areas instead of jumbling it all up. And my books have no repeating either. So, but they've been good. I've had a lot of people say they like it because the way it's written, it's in a style that no one else has written. So it's just because there's always every chapter has a cliffhanger, and all the books go from one to the next. There's no repeating, no going back and saying, oh, well, this happened, way back there. And it's just nonstop, straightforward to the end.
Right.
And so I put 4 of them out in just a little over a year.
Right. So Irene, tell us about the feedback that you've gotten from your readers out there, and any particular experience, or probably any particular feedback that you've gotten from your readers so far.
Um, well, basically, I gotten both good and bad reviews, and of course I always love the good reviews. But even from the bad reviews, I can learn because it shows me the areas where I need to improve.
Mm-hmm.
But the the best reviews, I think, good or bad, is when they get so emotionally connected to a character,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
and because at the end of the day, that's what it's about, is for your reader to connect to the people in your story.
Correct.
Yeah.
Awesome. Right. So, when it comes to your writing journey, I mean, all of you write fiction books, but at some point of time, you do incorporate, like, real life experiences. So, um, I was just wondering, like, during your journey when you write books, how supportive your family members, or probably your friends, are, or have they actually give you some suggestions when you develop your plots? So how
Yeah.
has it been so far, or is it just you and your world and you're trying to develop something? So yeah, tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, I give some excerpts to my friends and sometimes family, and they too tell me you can add more here or do this differently. So I also find it helpful.
Uh-huh. Right, interesting. So Robert, tell us, I mean, how do you develop your plot, or has your family or friends actually helped you in the process?
Um, my friends actually have helped a lot because, like I said, I don't have any plots or anything. I write
Uh-huh.
chapter by chapter. So when I'm down, and I have to be at a public place when I write. I can't write
Uh-huh.
in the quiet. I have to write somewhere where I feel the energy of creativity. So if I come to a spot where I need something or I can't figure out what I'm going to put somewhere, I'll ask somebody that's sitting next to me, whether they're a stranger or a friend, um,
Oh,
what would fit here or what would fit there in this spot. And then if I like it, I'll use it. I mean, uh, like a puzzle piece. I mean, that's actually how that got involved in book 4, just by asking someone, a friend of mine, and he said puzzle piece. And I was like, okay, now I got to figure out how to make that work, but we'll see what we can do. Um,
uh-huh.
but yeah, and then of course, using all their names, of course, they're all happy with that. They don't really care about the rest of it. They're just happy I'm doing it, and they're enjoying reading it, and my grandmother is enjoying reading it with all her grandkids in it. So it's like they're forever in the book too. So like I
Right.
said, I just read
Uh-huh.
whatever. I mean, I write when I sit down, whatever comes to my head. That's just what I write.
Right.
But it's
So
fun. But
yeah. So uh, for you, I mean, the books that you've written so far, if I were to ask who is the ideal readers, what would you say? I mean, who would you say that, who would you identify as your ideal readers? Right.
you go ahead,
Irene?
Irene.
Yes, Irene.
Oh, basically everyone. I started with young adults, but basically, anyone from young adult to, moms or grandmothers or whoever, who because my trilogy is science fiction, but there's also romance and adventure, so a little something for everyone. So parents, grandparents, as well as their children.
Right. So, Robert, who would you identify as your ideal readers and your target audience, maybe?
Well, like I said, my target audience was just anyone who had issues reading. So it didn't
Okay.
matter age or didn't matter anything else. It was people who hadn't found the love of books yet, because I was a horrible reader when I grew up, and I had a college professor call me horrible names in front of the entire class, and I did not read. And so it took me a long time to get to reading. So my target audience is just those who don't like to read. I want them to be able to find something that's simple enough until they can work their way up to those great big fancy, novels, with 80,000 words, 120,000 words, Mine is simple. It's just a full novel, and that's really all I didn't think it'd go down to third grade, but hey, you write for who you want to reach, and he's dyslexic, so hey, it was for him. And so my grandmother read it in a day, and she's 91, so and I was like, why can't I read that well? I mean, that's not fair. I should have those same genes. So yeah, anybody that has a hard time reading, but even those that don't have a hard time reading, because like I said, for those that can read easily, they have no issue. It's a one-day read for them.
Right.
And so, but there's so much going on in every single one of them. There could be spin-offs for days and years up the entire series. Because it goes from like mine has the separate planet in one part, and then it also has futuristic. It's just a lot going on.
Right. Right. So, Irene, so probably could you tell us about your future plans in writing? Are you writing any other books, or how are you marketing your present books, the trilogy that you have, and where can viewers follow you or learn more about you?
Yes, well, I have my trilogy, and also I wrote this road trip book, Miles for Bonnie, about a veteran who goes on a cross-country tour after his wife passes away from lymphoma. And that, as well as my trilogy, can be found with my Helenowski. Yes. And also I am on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Right.
And my YouTube channel.
I see. Yes. So something interesting about Irene is that she also hosts interviews on a YouTube channel, and I think you just had one earlier, right? About an hour or so ago, right?
Actually, that one, due to technical difficulties, did not work out. But the last one I had was Saturday with a wonderful, also a wonderful author, Skylar Rankin. So I have one coming up with Brittany Cohen next week.
Awesome. Right.
Thank
So,
you.
Robert, so probably could you tell us about your future plans? What are you writing right now? Are you writing anything right now, or how are you marketing the books that you have at this point of time? And where can readers follow you?
Well, right now I am in the process of writing the 5th book of my series, The Ending. and I was hoping to have it out by January, but I think I've hit a little snag in there between work and everything else, so it might be pushed to February or March, which is still fine. And I market them through Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Tumblr, Amazon does them for me. Barnes and Noble does. I'm also the publisher. I started my own publishing company because it made more sense and it was easier to do. So I do all my formatting and everything. So my covers, designs, everything. So I just pretty much upload it. So, but at starnesbooksllc.com is my webpage, and on there it has everything. It's got my dedications on there. It's got even different links for each one of the books of where they are, so people can look anywhere. Barnes Books a Million, Barnes and Noble, Amazon, Thrifty Books, Second and Charles, everywhere, and they're nationwide. I mean worldwide actually, because I just did a radio interview in the UK Saturday.
Yes, I think that is an association with Dr. Graham's Facebook group, am I right? So I think a lot of people are doing the radio interview over there, which is great. And before we end our interview today, I would like the both of you to send your messages across to your readers out there. So what do you expect your readers get out of your book? So Irene, so probably could you like tell us a little bit about the key takeaway messages that you have in your book and what you hope to, tell to your readers out there?
Well, I like writing stories where people overcome difficulties, but then if they still have something bothering to them to still make the best of it and move on and try to stay positive. So, because personally, that's how I deal with obstacles. So, I just thought there was a good message for everyone to get.
Right, awesome. So Robert, what is the key takeaway message that you hope the readers to actually get from your book?
The message that I hope that they actually get is to understand and realize that everyone is different. It doesn't matter. Every single person is different. And just because somebody is different doesn't mean you have to point it out, doesn't mean you have to say anything. It doesn't mean you have to treat them any different, because some of the best people in the world are different. And just because you're pointing out somebody for being different, that means you're different already. So don't do it. And just, if you see somebody bullying, stop it. Step in. Lower the teen suicide rate, and lower the spousal abuse rate. I mean, do something. I mean, you can't just stand there and not, because too many parents are losing their kids, and that's what I hope they take away from it and realize that.
Right. Awesome.
We got to do something. So.
Right. Awesome. So I think we have come to the end of our show today, and thank you for joining us, Irene and Robert. Thank you for making it for today's interview. Unfortunately, Olivia is supposed to be Lisa. Sorry, Lisa is supposed to be also joining us, but she is not able to make it because right now it's about 2:30 a.m. where she is right now in the island, so she's not able to join us. So, but I hope to have her on the upcoming shows that we have probably on Tuesdays, because Tuesdays are dedicated Tuesdays for fiction authors. So to discover interesting characters, or probably to discover interesting authors out there. So thank you for joining us for this week's Tuesdays, your next page turner show. And till next time, I'm hoping to have you, the both of you, probably in some other shows that we have in the future. So thank you for joining us, and Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to the both of you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you
Thank you.
so much. Thank you so much for joining. And this video will be available for replay. So it's going to be, it is right now live on Facebook. So you can replay it anytime. So that shouldn't be a problem for you to view it again, you know. So thank you for joining us, and have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.